Warning, this video contains rumors, speculation, strong opinions, and
Okay, I'm joined by Tommy Tallarico again.
Again.
Yeah, this is a one-on-one. We're going to try to address the hottest topics about the Amico. I racked my brain. How do I get the best way to because I don't think I'll be honest with you, Tommy. I know you're up for it. I don't think the Pat and Ian thing is ever going to happen. I don't think I don't think they'll even talk to me unless maybe if I do a Patreon and do questions is the only way I'll get some questions on, and I'm not doing that. I'm subscribed, but I'm not doing that. So I actually, thanks for tweeting it out. I had some responses. There are some questions.
Great.
I think the hottest way to start though would just be let's play a little bit of the video from Pat and Ian to see where they're starting with what you say is really bad information.
Okay.
And then I'll pause. When you want me to pause, I'll pause. I don't know if we're going to watch the whole video, but we at least get a start. This is as close.
Please let's not.
No, I mean, this, unfortunately, with how this is going, this is as close as it's going to be as a question, is a concern and a response from the CEO of Intellevision, Amico.
Okay, skip around though. Skip around.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, if we don't like it, if you don't like how it's going,
we'll just when you can start a topic and then we can pause and talk about that topic.
All right. Let's add it here. They like covering the Amico. Wouldn't it be interesting to actually talk to the CEO?
Yeah, I mean, right. They got about a dozen videos at this point.
Well, before I start though, there is a stigma with new consoles coming to market that are not Microsoft,
not from the
Sony.
big three.
Yes, there are a lot of people in here in the game to come and get the retro consumers' money.
Right.
There is one question before I start that was actually I was going to ask you myself.
Sure.
That someone tweeted out on Twitter. Let me see if I can find who did it. I don't know if it was Relic Gamer. Someone asked, with all these concerns, one thing that only the consumer really has to worry about is are you working on a warranty? I mean, I'm assuming since you're going to be in GameStop, there'll be some type of warranty. Maybe you can't comment on the details, but these aren't things you're really going to have to worry about. It's going to be in a major. GameStop is a big deal.
Well, it's going to be in major retailers. We haven't even announced all of our retailers yet. We're going to be doing that in about a month, less than a month actually. Of course, warranties, buybacks, all that stuff. But yeah, it's just anything that Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony do, we're doing.
So this isn't like fly by night Kickstarter.
It's not a Kickstarter.
No, I mean, the people haven't even been. These aren't noobs to the industry either. You have a lot of professionals. I mean, that quells my fears right away. It's like,
well, I mean, I can tell you this: when you think of whether it's Atari or Ouya or Coleco or any crowdfunded campaign or whatever, go look on our website, Intellevisionamico.com. Go down to the bottom, and you'll see Irvine, California, where we probably have about 40 people working there now. You'll see San Francisco office. You'll see a Nuremberg, Germany office. You'll see a Dubai office in the Middle East. And we just added, and this is an exclusive, we just added Salt Lake City, Utah as well. So ask yourself if a normal crowdfunded, because that's one of the lies out there is that we're crowdfunded. We're not.
You can cancel the co-fig at any time, I still think, right?
You can go,
Not that I'm going
fig.co,
to. Yeah.
but we're using it as, that's an
Yeah.
investment site. So
Yeah.
just like you can invest in Apple and buy shares or whatever, in Apple and Disney and Microsoft and, and every company in the world, every big company, you can also invest in Intellevision as well. We're not publicly traded yet. We're private. So it's a, privately held company still, but you can invest in private companies as well. And that's what the fig.co site is. And, we put up there, just for fun, if nothing else, because they have so many, tens of thousands of people who typically invest in video game projects. We're like, hey, well, let's put our pre-sale up there. Let's set it for $1. Because we're not trying to get a goal. We're not trying to raise money to create the console. That's what crowdfunding is, right? We're there. Hey, if people see it and they want to and they want to pre-order it, we'll take $100 deposit, but you can give it back at any time. If you want your $100 back, especially during this COVID thing, but I mean, we were doing this back in January on our own website. So just because if you want the deposit back, then we give you the deposit back. So there's, again, explain how that's crowdfunding.
I mean, from all the options that are available to the consumer right now, even if you have concerns about the final product, I personally don't. But there's warranties. You could get your money refunded.
For sure.
Big box stores like GameStop.
You walk into GameStop.
Even not the Intellevision itself warranty. I know companies like you to deal with their warranties themselves, but you could go right back to the store.
Oh, you could go. Oh, yeah, exactly. You take, and I always tell people this, by the way. I always say, look, if you're on the fence about it, please do not purchase or pre-order it. Wait till it comes out. Find it at a friend's house or go in and try it at the store. There's no reason to to risk anything. Don't risk it. If you're on the fence, wait.
This is for fun. You want people to be excited. Yeah,
and you know what? The system's not going to be for everyone either. That's fair, right? I mean, it's right. You never hear me saying everybody in the world's going to love it. No, we're targeting a very specific, demographic of people who typically are not hardcore gamers, who typically Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo don't, and PC world typically don't go after. So I understand that people out there are very, they might be, think that we're absolutely crazy and all this stuff, and this thing's going to fail and this and that, because they're not really in the demographic that we're, it's like trying to convince people who like country music that speed metal is going to be great and you're going to love it. Trust me. It's like we're not doing that, and you'll never hear me say that. So
what's so funny about video game collectors and everything, the initial price of a console, they are so stuck on that they can't see past it. If you think about the Amico, after the initial cost of the console itself, the costs are the cheapest.
Right.
I mean, everything's all in one, a one box set. You're set to go. Games are $10.
Again, it's very different, right? And people aren't used to that. People over the last 30 years have bought a console with maybe one game that comes with it, if it's a bundle, or just the system on its own with one controller. That's the way. And if we wanted to, by the way, we could put the machine out for $149 with one controller and maybe one game or something, right? But the market research that we did said, don't do that. They would rather, they don't want to look all in one. Let's get you going. And by the way, you saw it with the Nintendo Wii. almost 30% of all people who bought a Nintendo Wii, which by the way was 102 million people, right? Almost 30% never even bought a game for it, because they're like, did they make games for them? How do they check the reviews? Do they go on Google? Do they have to? You got to put in a bunch of time, right? And I'm sorry, my mom hasn't gotten on Metacritic recently or ever, right? And so what we found is that people want a kind of all-in-one solution, and with cheap, with inexpensive, less expensive games, because with the Nintendo Wii, if you're going to buy that, it comes with Wii Sports, but if you're going to buy that second game, it's $50, right? $40-$50. That's a big commitment. And again, that was
now they're going to be 70 from what I've
15
heard.
years ago. Now we're hearing $70 for next gen games.
AAA, yeah.
So anyway, so we're presenting something in a way that no one has ever presented before. An all-in-one box with very inexpensive games, right? The closest thing to us is kind of like mobile is kind of the closest thing. And we're going for more of the mobile market than we are the PlayStation market, right? Because you can say, well, mobile is kind of an all-in-one device, but again, what's the problem with mobile? It's solitary. There, yes, it's hyper casual. Yes, you have edutainment, but it's solitary. All the games are based around sucking. They're designed
microtransactions
around sucking as much money out of you as possible. And again, I'll show you the data and research all day long. People are sick of it. I mean, they put up with it because it's like, okay, it's this free game. But again, as gamers like me and you are, do we enjoy that? Do we enjoy, the way it, I mean, come on, let's get back to basics. So our proposition to the world is something very unique and something very different. So I understand why people can't wrap their heads around it, and that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's all gamers are like this. What's the initial cost? That's BS. What is your cost after day 2 when you want to do something else with your console? $10.
Yeah, $10.
Or buy a card, and then I think you have something like you get 25% off for a while, or I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I can tell you that our controllers, as more technically advanced as, like, say, a Joy-Con, because we have speaker, microphone, gyroscope, accelerometer, wireless contact charging, color touchscreen, force feedback, RFID in there, light up buttons, LEDs. This is a super expensive controller. Look, it's acrylic. It's not plastic. It's not glass. Had to pay extra for that, right?
Well, I love my Switch, but the Joy-Con, there should have been a revision already. There's still issues with it, this drift, and that I mean, I can't tell till I get my hands on it, and I'm not just going to show for you. But the controller looks solid. I mean, if that's prototype, it looks solid to me. Yep. I mean, I won't know until I get the faces.
Well, we have the real ones in. Yeah, we have the real ones in already. The plastics, the finished plastics, everything. Yeah, and they look even better. They're just all at the office. I should bring one. Yeah, bring one home. I will next week.
It looks solid. It look. I'm going based on looks, but
but and you should feel it to make sure, because everybody who feels it, that's when they really fall in love with it, because of the way we designed the back of it, and like every groove was thought out. So like when you put your fingers in, and even the buttons here, the really deep buttons that your fingers feel really good in. But something that you can't really tell, but I flared this edge up a little bit. It's like hundreds of millimeters. You can kind of tell a little bit. See how it's flared up in the back a little bit? So again, when your fingers are in there, and it doesn't like slip off or anything. It just feels like
it looks comfortable.
Smooth.
I love the Switch because the games on it, but it's so uncomfortable.
But again, the reason I brought that up though, from a price standpoint, so even though there's a lot more expensive technology in that controller, our controllers, talk about price and everything, we're much cheaper than the Joy-Cons are. So there you go. So even though there's more technology, we're still less.
So we have to start to get to some of the
Let's
real
do it.
criticism, because my viewers are gonna be like, especially one of my favorite viewers, he always puts me in check because he always gives me the hard question. You're being too softball. All right, let's bring Pat. Let's get as close as we can get to Pat and Ian. At least
Sure.
start the video to hear. He said he was being fair in this video. Let's see if that's the case.
Yeah. I'll be fair.
We have to discuss the Intellevision Amico. I'm going to be as professional
See, he's
as I can
okay.
from the start. I must say that without ad hominems toward the people running it.
I will say right away, not to be I am a subscriber. I still like these two. I have an issue with how they're handling business. I mean, if I had this platform that he has, I will never get that many subscribers. But I'm like, why would you not? If Nintendo president wanted to speak with him, don't you think he would jump on that?
Of course he would.
So it's really showing your bias there.
Yeah.
A very big missed opportunity. This is. I'll remove him for one more second. I think this is what the problem is. As being a YouTuber, there's certain points in a YouTuber's life that you get the most relevancy. And one of his was, and when you don't get it for a while, you get stuck in a mindset. You got to figure, you got to have your next big moment. And he's stuck in that moment with the failed Coleco console.
Right. Well,
And
I mean,
he wants relevancy again.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's so hard to get views on YouTube. So you seek out problems when they don't exist.
Right.
This is the problem with all YouTubers.
The unfortunate part for Pat is that this is not the Coleco Chameleon, and if he's going to go down with this ship, if he's still going to go down that thing, what's going to happen when it comes out and it's going to be successful. He's going to be the Coleco Chameleon of YouTubers.
All right, fair enough. Throwing the gun. I hope you're right. I'll still stay subscribed.
Oh, I know I'm right.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I believe there's a market for it for sure. I really do. Especially when it's going to be in stores in the hopefully this holiday. We'll get to that later. Okay. I just see in stores with. It's also a good solution. The GameStop, anything that physically could be in stores, and then the cards that parents could just buy. If there's a big market for children, parents, grandparents, where they could just, I'll buy my grandson or my granddaughter or son or daughter a card, and they can scan it and buy what they want. And you don't have to worry about surprise credit card statements with a bunch of digital purchases, which I know for a fact happens with my family. You don't necessarily have to worry about that. I don't think at all, really. We'll see. Let's get back to. Hold on, let me. Hold on. Okay.
What's the first subject? Maybe we'll just hit the subject so I don't have to watch this.
Oh, okay. You don't want to watch. All right. I understand. Well, I'll just trash them.
Well, what's the first? We're talking about our job descriptions, right?
Okay. Their big issue was the gotcha moment of the video. Callie, please be quiet. My dog is getting all worked up.
Well, that's because you had that video on just now. That's why they're like, turn that off.
All right. The big gotcha moment that they think they have is that you're putting out job positions now, and they're suggesting the narrative that they're building around this is that it wasn't done in the past, and you're like starting from square one right now when it has to launch in October.
Yeah, complete and utter nonsense. We've showed, because one of the things they showed he mentioned in the video, and it's funny because I don't follow these guys at all. It's just that, we have a bunch of fans that will post this shit, post this stuff for me or to me and say, look what they said, because they know it's kind of malarkey, as you say. So one of the things they said is that we've never showed a working machine, and that we're still trying to figure out firmware for the controllers to connect to the device and all this stuff, and that it's never been turned on, and the boot screen and blah 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 blah. Well, that's. Anyone can go on our YouTube page right now and look back in March. You'll see a missile command, and you'll see side swipers, they're two separate videos. In those videos, you will see our controllers. And the reason I made these was specifically to show the controllers and mobile devices working together, right? So you can download, you can download the free app that mimics the controller, right? And so I'm like, hey, that's pretty amazing, right? Now we can show the controller works off Bluetooth, and the Amico controller is connected Bluetooth, and the mobile controller is connected directly through Wi-Fi, right? And so I'm like, hey, this is really cool. Now, in order for any of that to work, of course, there had to be firmware running, everything already up and going. And again, you know how long firmware takes? It's probably the most complex thing. You ask anyone who's ever done hardware, especially a video game machine, you ask them, and Jay Allard will tell you, and Phil Spencer will tell you, and you name it. Reggie will tell you, Mark Cerny from PlayStation will tell you the most difficult thing and the thing that takes the longest is firmware, right? Now, we were showing that in March. I recorded that in March. The controller's working in March. So how long did it take to create all that firmware to show a recording of that in March? So clearly we've had a team, not one, not two, not three, not four people. Keep going. We've had a team of people specifically dedicated, and some of them are working, one half of the team just works on the hardware, firmware for the main console itself. And the other teams work on the firmware for the controller. And if folks aren't out there are interested in knowing, what is this firmware thing they keep talking about? Basically, our hardware engineers, and by the way, a team of them as well. By the way, these are internal people, paid full benefits, 6-figure plus salaries, right? And so those people create the actual hardware. So one of the other things that they talked about in that video, they said, they heard a rumor that it's a banana pie.
Yeah.
Right?
I've heard that.
Well, I can tell you that is the most ridiculous, utter nonsense that has been disproven time and time and time again. I showed the board for Amico. I showed it last year in an episode, and I was showing off that we actually put a little gold running man or something. Well, it's gold in color. It's not really, but we actually etched a running man onto every board. So when people eventually open this up, and they look at the board, they'll see a little running man on it. The other thing, which has been talked about in many videos, is that if you look at the back of a banana pie, it looks nothing like the back of our machine. So these positions, that was 100% incorrect.
These positions are additional. You've had a team in place in advance. In that video that you showed, I wasn't sure if it was actual interacting with the console and the controller.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so that's laid to rest.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too, though, to talk about that, because the latest rumor is that we faked that whole video, right? That was the other one. So to that, I would say this: watch everybody's hands on the controller. Whatever they're doing, is happening on screen. But people were like, "Oh, there's 2 laptops on the thing," and you can clearly see what is on the main screen that people playing, you can clearly see that it's on one of those laptop screens. So obviously it was the laptop running it, and no, in that video, we showed full screen, captures, both of Missile Command and Sideswipers. So that machine was capturing output from Amico into the laptop, not out of the laptop, into the laptop. And if anyone knows, what's it called? OEB. What's that capture? The capture thing.
Auto or OBS.
I say OEB like OEB Pete, but it's OBS. I think it's OBS.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows that program can look on that laptop, and they will see the software, the video capturing software. That's what that was.
Okay.
That's what that was capturing. That was not running the game. On the other laptop, you'll see waveforms. Whoa. Focus. It's crazy. Come up close. There you go. You'll also see, on the other laptop, you'll see audio waveforms. Mm-hmm. Well, that's because that was recording the audio as well, because I was recording it in there, but for some reason it was like glitching a little bit. It was capturing the video fine, but on that particular laptop, it would like stutter the audio. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just bring out another audio. And again, anyone who knows the program Audacity, which is a recording program, look on Audacity, look on that computer, you'll see the Audacity software, and it was recording the audio. Now, there was also a board in the back, and they're like, oh, they must have been running it off that. No, that was an old board. It's not even plugged in. You can see it in different scenes. It's not even plugged in at all. And that was the naked board that we used before, getting it in the shells and all that stuff. That was and again, banana pies are this big. Our board's this big, right? So you can kind of, see that was the development board, which is, our boards have now, changed since that one. That was like a Rev 1. That was before E3 of last year. So that board was probably about, I don't know, about a year and 3 months old, because we had the working machines we showed at E3, and people like Metal Jesus Rocks and John Kelsey and I forget all these folks' last names, but that whole the Metal Jesus crew, they all were in there playing it. Smash JT played it last fall again. So YouTubers have been it, and they've played that machine. So anyway, yeah. So but the point
you're more in the testing phase now than developing. Like the video was the overall narrative of the video is you're hiring now. These teams didn't exist. It's last moment. And then, unfortunately, the other topic I gotta do the hard.
But can I let me just put one last thing about the firmware though, if I could. Firmware. So why are we hiring? Well, a couple of those were like 2 months old now. But the thing to know about firmware is you're always hiring firmware people. Yeah. You can never have enough firmware because you're always updating firmware. Every single time you turn on your PlayStation 4, what's it say? Right. Updating firmware, right? So this isn't a job of like 4 or 5 people internally. And then, the machine's out. Bye. We're going now. See ya. Thanks. It was great working with you for 2.5 years. Boom. No.
You're more like ramping up support, hiring new people.
Always. And the other thing too is that, like I talk about like all of these amazing things that Amico is going to do, but you never hear me say on launch, we're going to have this, every single thing we've said. Eventually we will. Online multiplayer is a perfect example, right? So we need people to build those back-end systems. Is that going to be available on launch? No, it's not, right? Our parent key
I
stuff.
didn't know you were looking at that. I missed that one. I didn't know.
Well, we're looking at it. We're looking into it now to see what the costs would be. What would the monthly cost? Because then we'd have to put out a subscription. So it's nothing that we would do in 2020 or 2021. Maybe like Christmas of 20 or summer or Christmas of 2022 if we were to do it. But we have to get the machines out there first. We have to do testing. We have to see how much people really want it. But right now we can be looking into it and seeing how viable it is. But the other thing is accessories. We have different accessories we're thinking about that. Yes, they need to talk to the system. So anyway, final thing. How come no one mentioned that, is there, this and that, blah, 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 blah. We must be hurting for people. Do you know, Max? We've hired 7 people last week alone.
That's
7
great.
People in the worst pandemic the world has, I'm going to say the world has ever seen. We've seen the bubonic plague and all that stuff. Over the last 100 years, the worst economy since, and job loss since the Great Depression.
And you said benefits and everything out with your employees.
How we're a pre-revenue startup company.
You can't
ask yourself how many pre-revenue startup companies offer their employees full benefits. We should be applauded.
You can't afford to scam the consumer. Even if I'm not saying you would, you can't be like these other Kickstarter, these other consoles that come out that only worry about the funding. Those people aren't getting full-time benefits and all that. That's just
exactly. And by the way, did you see the salary figures?
I didn't look at that part. No.
$120,000.
Wow,
again, if we don't have our stuff together, give me a break. It's just it's utter nonsense. It's just people trying to find ways to tear us down and drag us down, and it's ridiculous.
To be devil's advocate, they're used to other launches that are not the big 3, and people coming on the scene that maybe don't have it even experience.
Fair enough, but when you have 700 years of video game experience. When you have guys like Jay Allard who helped to create the Xbox and Xbox 360, when you guys like David Perry who helped to create cloud gaming and who did create it for his company got bought by Sony, Gaikai, for $383 million to become their cloud gaming. When you have people that worked on the Nintendo Wii, including when you have one of the former presidents of Nintendo of America, working with us, when you have that level, and when the CEO reaches out to you personally and says, hey, if you ever have any questions or concerns, give me a ring. Here's my email. Here's my whatever. Now that's where you can't stick up for those guys at that point, right?
Yeah, I can't defend that because I like to talk to everybody, even though I like.
Why am I out of focus all the time? Huh?
You're looking too fresh and clean. Stubble helps with the camera.
I had to slim down, got a haircut, still got some grays going on, but consoles will do that. Creating consoles will do that to you.
Yeah. Well, we have to get to the elephant in the room. You will shock them if it gets released on date or by the end of 2020.
Look, so I'd love to address that.
Okay.
Anyone who's been following Amico at all, and we're sitting here, what's the date today? July 7th, 6th, 5th. Today's July 5th. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Last night was the 4th. So here we are sitting July 5th. So just so it's in context for people who might be watching this in the future. In March, since March, I have been saying to people that COVID may affect our launch date.
Yeah.
I have been saying this. I have been open March, April, May, June, July, June, for the last 4 months. and I talk about it on every single interview I do. If people go on the Atari Age forums and to the Amico the Q&A thread that I have over there, I give updates there because people will ask. I have been more transparent about every single little thing that this system has ever done. And I think that's part of the issue, Max, that I think some of these folks have, is that they're not used to so much transparency. Because my whole idea was, you know what? I want to be transparent from the beginning because we're not the top three, right? We're not Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. See, they can hold their cards all the way to their chest as long as they want, because they know when they release the date, when they release the price, they can wait till the end, right? But for me and for Intellevision, we want to generate, people talking about it. I mean, you go on any day of the week and you'll see 5 or 6 pro Amico videos out there. People are excited, right? If I held everything close to my chest to the end, look, I'm not sitting here drinking my own Kool-Aid. I know that we're not near as big. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the money. We don't have the, but what we do have is heart. We have passion. We have a vision and a dream, and nothing's going to stop us from getting there. So, for us, I said, you know what? Let's take people on a ride with us. And so as we're creating the process, like I said, in the very first video we ever did a couple years ago, it said 149 to 179.
That's the other thing I was going to bring up. Yeah.
That was the price range that at the time we were hoping to get out for. Because again, at the time I'm thinking like, who knows how much the controllers are going to cost to make. Like, I didn't know at the time. We had an idea. We had a very basic idea, but we didn't know this was going to be acrylic because it would be so much cooler. We didn't know this was going to be a capacitive screen instead of a resistive screen. We thought it was going to be a resistive screen. We thought this was going to be a hard piece of plastic. We thought a bunch of stuff, right? And then as we start making it, we thought we were going to have 16 gig on board. We ended up upgrading to 32, right? Mm-hmm. And so all these different things that as you're creating, it's starting to like, okay, I can make a decision. I can either put out something that's,
you're guilty of giving too much info.
Mediocre.
Guilty of giving too much. So the Sony and Microsoft don't tell. I don't know if they still release the prices.
They haven't. No.
Things change. That's why.
But you nailed it right there. I'm guilty of giving up too information and being too transparent. Right? Now, here's the reality. 99% of the people, what does it do that for? Focus. Why? Stop. Oh, you know what? Let me put some light on. Maybe that's going to help.
Okay.
I don't know what it's, anyway,
giving too much info.
Yeah, given too much info, but 99% of the people really appreciate, right? Yeah. Really appreciate it. And a group of 5 or 6 folks who can't stand it. Oh God, it's so annoying. Maybe you can cut this a little bit.
Yeah.
Edit around.
Yeah.
But
put your hand up sometimes does it, and then pull back. Oh,
okay.
Now I messed myself up.
But 99% of the people out there, they appreciate it, right? And if a group of folks want to constantly bag on us for it, like Pat and Ian or whatever, that's fine. That's with the territory. We open ourselves up by being so open and transparent. So you'd think people would appreciate that.
Yeah, when you develop a console, when you go the whole way, I mean, I'm going based on what I've been following you guys, is things change during the development cycle, costs change. Maybe you gave the price right away. that that is what you were shooting for, really. But
if I had to do it over, I shouldn't have put the price in there if I knew that it was going
to. The consumer holds you to, and it's a ridiculous standard, actually.
Well, but the way
I will say it's a ridiculous standard because also holding Intellevision to a standard that the rest of the world, the whole world shut down for a few months there.
Right.
I mean, there's no avoiding that.
Well, and that's the thing. I have been saying for 4 months that it might be delayed. So, we're going to be making it, what's it, July 5th? Over the next less than 2 weeks from now, we have to make that call, right? We're deciding. We're in touch weekly with all of our distributors and the manufacturer and and of course, most importantly, our retailers. So it's not just like my decision either. Mm-hmm. It's not like I'm sitting there going, oh, this is what's going to happen. It's a decision. There's so many people involved, right? Yes, there's our internal team, but again, distributors, manufacturing, and the retailers. We're all making the decision. So if the decision is made to delay, then that new date that is chosen isn't chosen by me. It's chosen by a group of the retailers, the distributors, the manufacturers, and Intellevision and all of our folks as well too. So yeah. So I mean, people can try to say, "Oh, we got you. We knew it wasn't coming out." Blah 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 blah. It's like, look, I've been saying myself for 4 months that it may not come out. So I don't know what the big surprise. It's not like.
Well, more likely too, if it is delayed, if it does happen, it's because you're getting the launch done right. Because can you say if you're in the testing phase now, like if you're
we've been
testing for a while, or make sure no problems arise.
Yeah, we've been in the testing phase. Typically takes about 2 to 3 months to do it properly, right? And if you ask, Jay Allard. Why did the red ring of death on the 360 happen? He'll be the first one to tell you we didn't have, we should have tested more, right? Mm-hmm. So again, Jay knows more than anyone else, which is part of the reason, bringing him in at this stage, right as we started our testing phase was so important. People are like, oh, he's too late. No, he's right now is at the perfect time, actually, right? Because this is what we need the most. We need experience the most from, somebody who has done it right and who ran into difficulty with other stuff too. So the experience and the knowledge that this guy has is just unbelievable. There's literally no one else on the planet.
I don't want to be a shill too much for you guys, but anyone watching that is super critical of this, you have to give people credit for their work history.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the resume. Just like these people have been involved in everything. I can't understand why this is one group that you can't give the benefit. These are not no names, and I'm not saying you should trash no names either coming into the industry. I'm just saying. Right. Let them do it. You're not going to do this without a testing phase. That's right. You want to make sure it's long enough. And if it's delayed, it's delayed. But at least it'll be tested and make sure the launch is right.
And here's something that's really important about testing, and then we can move on to the next thing if you'd like. The compliance testing that you have to do to release hardware in the United States, in Canada, in all over Europe, and Poland even has a separate thing than the rest of Europe. The UK is completely separate, right? So all of these places, you have to do certain compliance testing. So even if we passed with flying colors all of our compliance testing, do you know how many organizations we have to get the okay and approval from? Like FCC and all. Like, what if somebody put this Amico in their trunk in Texas in July? Is the battery gonna heat up and catch on fire, and his car is gonna catch on fire? Like, it's all extreme hot and cold testing, all these electric things. And when you deal with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all of these, again, we've created this stuff from scratch. Another reason to know that it's not some off-the-shelf thing, right?
Okay,
we've created all this stuff, but there's over 50 compliance things that we have to deal with. 50 other groups and organizations that we have to deal with. And half of them are shut down. Some of them are government run that aren't even running. So how can we do all this stuff and provide? So, but you said something that is so important. Forget the COVID stuff. Forget the compliance testing stuff. Forget all the different countries and all the different plugs and adapters and all the different things you have to test out. Forget all that. I want to put out a machine. Who cares about all that? Would people want a machine for that's perfect and fun to play, or do they want something that's half-assed, right? So why would we rush something out just to like hit a very special date? To me, by the way, I know how special. If there's anyone else if there's anyone in the world who wants to hit that date, you know, I made a promise to my mom, right? And so, you know, I almost like, because you don't know COVID's happening, right? You know, 3 years ago when we do the spreadsheet and the business plan for this, you don't put in, oh, world's going to shut down for 6 months. No one can come into the office. You know, that was another thing I remember they said on the video. It's like, oh, you can do all this stuff remotely. How ignorant, how pathetically ignorant,
disrespectful.
Right?
I mean,
disrespectful and mean-spirited. You know,
I mean, like, look at the world. Give everyone. I mean, look at entertainment, and movies, and stuff. It's completely chaos right now.
We're having, like, all of our, or not all of our, most of our developers have the controller and dev kits and stuff, right? We had to hand build those. Now, how do you hand build something? You do it in person. Yeah. But we have a team of people who can't be around each other in the state of California. And by the way,
that's
California, we're in Orange County. The numbers are getting worse.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear it.
So it's like, how are we supposed to come out with a? So again, you want to go, nah, you're wrong. No, I wasn't wrong, because I've been saying since March, this could affect us. Right. Yeah. So anyway, if people don't have the compassion,
you have to be realistic. You have to be realistic. You got to give people benefit of the doubt. Those people that you hired, they want to keep their full-time benefits. They want this to be successful, I'm sure.
Can I tell you that we haven't laid off a single person?
That's great.
Not a single person.
You're hiring during this, yeah.
We not only have we hired, you know, people, but we've opened new offices as well. Are you kidding me? Right?
Yeah. Kickstarter consoles don't open new offices all over the world. I'm sorry. It's different. It's different. I'm not shilling by saying it is different. These are professional. Look, each person on their team, the resume, it's unbelievable. There was one other concern that I just thought of in their video. Please. And then we'll get to the questions, because I don't want to keep you too long, because people did actually submit questions.
Great, love it.
Was even if it's successful, even if the hardware is there, if no one buys it, you have a console that has no games coming out in the future. Like if it doesn't reach a certain benchmark, how many games can you say that you've had in development?
Yeah. So there's 50 games in development right now, and we're about to launch another 50 games in about. Let me go back.
Okay.
We have 50 games in development right now, and then we're going to do another group of 50 that's starting in about a month from now, but all 50 of those new games aren't starting at the same time. I wanted to see, I got to be super careful now, because somebody will say that, oh, they have 100 games in development right now. No, 50 games are in development now, and we're going to start a group of 50 more. The first ones of those 50 groups is going to start next month. So, and that's going to be for, going into 2021, into the summer, in the summer of 2021, those games that we're starting next month. And then
so that's
by beginning of 2021, we would start, well, actually a little before, probably like December, we'll start for the games for Christmas of 2021 again. And that could be 50 games. It could be 100 games by then. We don't, a lot of things depend on that. But so here's what I can tell you for certain is that there'll absolutely be 50 games on launch. So, let me back that up.
Yeah.
There'll be, we'll have 50 games completed on launch. We're going to release probably about 30 of them on day one, and then every couple weeks we'll release another one here and there. And by the way, people were like, well, what if I like racing games, or what if I like retro games? I got to wait like 2 months before the cycle, because we have edutainment, we have puzzle games, we have recreational sports, we have original IP. People are like, well, if you're doing every 2 weeks, then like every 2 months I'm going to get a retro game? No one ever said that. See, we'll know your buying pattern, right? So if you buy a whole bunch of retro games, we may decide to show you a retro game that you can purchase. But if there's a family and they're buying a bunch of educational games, then we can push that one to the front to their machine if we wanted to. So anyway, lots of different things. But I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, it sounds to me that you have active release schedules all through 2020,
Absolutely.
2021, 2020. I mean, even as it goes, so you have it staggered. The big concern is if it doesn't sell well, then you're gonna have a console you're not gonna have any games coming out.
Well, if for some reason, and I don't know what that reason would be, but for some reason, if the thing tanks, people will have 50 games they can purchase if they wanted to.
All right. Let me get to the questions here.
All right, let's get to some tough questions.
Oh,
those were easy.
There's okay. There's one more thing that I like the graphics in the game. There's a lot of people that say they really get the mobile feeling.
Fair enough.
And the 2D graphics. I think someone's gonna really at the beginning you were pushing the 2D graphics, and I think you've answered this to me before.
Yeah. About the developers.
You want to show this type of game first. The 2D stuff's you'll be the other type of the chunky sprites you may see it in a later point, but the way you got to market it. Yeah. So what's your comments on that? Those concerns.
So what is the actual? So what's the concern? The graphics?
The graphics.
Oh, that's an easy one. Really quick. People, if they say, the reason. See, we could have chose any operating, type system that we wanted to. We could have chose Android. We could have chose, whatever. We could have made our. We chose Android for a very specific reason, and Linux. Linux is very flexible. Android is very, very solid with, obviously Google owns it. So the amount of infrastructure and the amount of, millions of people around the world who would be familiar with that type of, environment, right? So that was one of the big reasons we chose, an Android-based, ARM-based processor, was because of the stability, right? And so the graphics, look, there's amazing graphical games on mobile devices now. I mean, they're incredible, right? And so it's strange to me when people say, well, it's mobile-like graphics. Okay, but what have I told you from the start? 200 million hardcore gamers who go crazy for the graphics. By the way, I'm one of them. but 3 billion people that play casual and mobile games. So if I'm trying to appeal to the mobile audience, why would I want to create a chipset and a system that is so graphically heavy?
You'll fail if you go up against Microsoft and Sony if you try.
And why would you want to go up against that? Because you'll never win.
You'll lose. They could take a loss too, just to get the hardware out there.
Exactly. But here's the other thing. I want you to go on your Nintendo Switch tonight and go into the eShop and look at the deals or whatever, like the thing where you can see all the best deals, and you'll see games on there for 1 cent, 14 cents, 12 cents. Look at some of the quality of the art of those games. Mm-hmm. So how come people aren't bagging on the Nintendo Switch? And not that I am, I'm just bringing this up as a point of comparison, is that, we have, I guess my point being is this, is that we have games on our system. In fact, I would go as far as saying all of our games on our system look better than some games on the Nintendo Switch, which is a very higher powered machine. Art is subjective, just like music, right? Art style is very subjective. And I will be the first to admit that especially gamers may not like the art quality and style of our games. Okay. That's okay, because to us, it's about fun. That is the number one thing. That is it.
I think Eddie Glue was the one. Why haven't you tried the Moon Patrol demo yet? I did try it. It is a lot of fun. I just kept playing it.
It's like 12 seconds, right?
Right. But I played it like 10 times.
But you played it.
Right. It was just simple, fun, enjoyable. Were the graphics amazing? Like they're pushing the neck? No, but it was what it needed to be.
Here's one big important thing as well from that, because you just reminded me of something about that PU podcast. Did I say that right?
Sure. Yes.
Oh, okay. So the other thing that he keeps saying over and over, both of them keep saying over and over again, is that any of these games can be played on a mobile device. By the way, look at their Moon Patrol game. They prove it themselves. Any of these games can be played on a mobile device. Why do you need this stupid system? That is so untrue. I'll tell you why. Every one of our games, Moon Patrol included, uses a main screen, couch co-op, 3 or 4 people, all looking on the main screen, using the controllers to play, using individual touch screens to do certain things during play. How is that like mobile? You can say, well, Jackbox does it. Yeah, Jackbox is one game, one group of games, very popular, by the way. The only mobile game out of the tens of millions of mobile games, that one and Emoji Charades, and I'm sure there's a handful others out there, but Emoji Charades just use one phone and the TV screen and groups of people around it. Jackbox is the only one where everybody has, I don't want to say only one because there might be something else out there, but the only one that I know of where everybody has a touchscreen and is looking at a main screen. Now in Moon Patrol, the final game of Moon Patrol, you cannot play on a mobile device because you're going to need things on the screen in order to control the thing on another screen. And this is with every single game we have. We're creating, they cannot be played on the Switch. They cannot be played on the PlayStation. We're designing these games around our unique controller. They haven't got that through their heads yet. And I've been telling them that on Twitter for a year, over a year now. And they still give that misinformation out that any of these games can be played on mobile. And it's exactly the opposite. None of these games can be played on mobile.
If you did what the critics want, you would just be going up against Microsoft and Sony and you would lose, and then they'd be like, "Why even bother? If you did what they asked, why bother?" There's no reason. There's no reason to come up with another high power console. You have to have a different point of view. You have to have a different out of the box.
You have to have a different system, a different ecosystem.
Yeah, there's no reason to compete with them. There is no
zero. I wouldn't want to.
They have way more money to lose than we.
Right.
So let's get to the questions.
Sure.
I'll probably do this a two-parter, and this is where I'll end the first one, and then the second part will be all the viewer questions.
Okay.
So let me see here. Let me get